Hey everyone, how you doing today? Yeah, I know I said the same thing again. I was working on this ship some more, and I've been playing with numbers. I also did finish up the rest of the interior on it. So what I wanted to do here as an experiment, so I got two different versions spawned in here. Now this one isn't obviously a version I would release over here. This was just to see what it would take to get this ship to not need any cores besides your default Reforged Eden cores, meaning basic, 2 improved, and 5 advanced cores. So if you take a look at the CPU on this version of the ship, it's just fitting within the 2.1 million CPU. In fact, it has enough CPU I could add a advanced constructor to it, which takes 20,000 CPU if I wanted to. But what I did to accomplish this number isn't a good thing, but I wanted to see what it was, and not to mention I wanted to paint inside of all these things. So I basically stripped it down and then put everything back in place, plus some different turrets and stuff on a different version. So yeah, this is CPU compliant, but it is lacking all turrets, all launchers, all constructors, shield, warp, all shield parts, and repair bay and teleporter. Basically, it has nothing on it. No parts that do anything. Really. And I also removed two of the XL thrusters for strafing in here. And God, you know, it doesn't have any production. It doesn't have any weapons. Oh yes. Let me fly through the. Let me get up into the saucer here, and then I also did a kind of a horrible mod here to the to the area where I had the fusion reactor, and I stuck in a couple large generators in here instead, and that's what it took to get it to be within CPU or 2.1 million CPU. So. And I don't like this change here at all. Now, if there's a vanilla conversion, this would have to be done. Now, in here, I kind of got like some reinforced Xeno stuff that was protecting this area a little bit more, and digging into the floor like that actually makes it more vulnerable. But it's the only way I could fit a part that was 6 blocks long in a 5-block area. So that's what it took. And honestly, these two generators, even how it sits, even with those 2 XL thrusters removed, I can even fly in it in space. I can, you do certain maneuvers, you can go almost to 140% of power usage, even with these two. Now, it was suggested too that, you know, like use these for the lower CPU. You know, honestly, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, and I'll show you why. Here, a large generator. Okay, so that's what I got in here. Each one of these, no, that's not what I got in here. That's a large generator. Hold on, that's not the right generator. Really? Yeah, this one. I'm sorry, advanced generator. It's 150,000 CPU per advanced generator. A fusion reactor is 400,000 CPU. And if you look at the numbers, it actually equals 5 of these. So even if I put in 2 of these, which isn't enough power, if I had to put in a third, I'm already at 450,000 CPU, and this is 400,000 CPU. So this is just a better deal all the way around on it. And it has that perk of doing a shield recharge as well, which you're not going to get out of these. So yeah, it's not a CPU savings at all to go to these, even trying to be on lower key. Now, there's a couple more thrusters I suppose I could remove from the ship as well. I could take out the extra forward thrusters that are in the bridge, maybe. But again, this is kind of like a non-workable version. Of course, you could put in all the parts again and make it function, I suppose. But as it sits now, you won't really want to fly. You can't really do any production in it. Well, I guess you could add in one advanced constructor. It doesn't have like anything. It doesn't have a shield. It doesn't have a warp drive. It doesn't. It's going to need more CPU, just straight up. So I just wanted to see how it would play out with those kind of numbers, just to see where it would go. And when you look in all the holes in the hull where the turrets get mounted, you notice that one distinct thing about it is, yeah, there's a lot of stuff below these holes, but it is all fluff. So these turret positions go along the outside of the saucer, the entire outside of the saucer where these turrets are. Is just basically, well, fluff rooms / rooms that can alternatively hold solar panels. So at least, when these things get popped, yeah, you might have some holes in your hull. You might have some oxygen breaches in some areas. But if you're actually in a real combat situation, you'd probably be in the secure bridge, which is actually over here. Down a floor over here, and this is kind of like with the fusion reactor in here has barrier walls of hardened materials in this center section of the ship, and it's not at the top of the ship either. It's kind of like down some, and also where it's located kind of above the neck as well. So it was one of the most secure places in the ship. I think I could have put a secure bridge. Besides, like, maybe way back in this area, which I think would have, then I couldn't have a hangar, and you wouldn't have had the walls wouldn't be as thick, basically. So on the next version here, now there wasn't really much in body mods or anything done on this, and basically I'm getting to the very last part of getting this ship done. So on this one, I reviewed some things. Obviously, I put in turrets again, and I actually reinstalled all the launchers, put the thrusters back in place, put in all the other parts again, the warp core and all the shield parts, and basically it's equipped quite decently. I did change the turrets. I take a look at the CPU over here. Obviously, over 4.8 million CPU. Let me get the turrets out. Rather than just going with cannon. What I did is I've got, let's get out the tool so I make sure I get the names right here. So, we'll just look at the stats. It's a lot easier. So this one has 8 missile turrets, 3 flak turrets, 9 minigun turrets, and I put the minigun turrets either on the very front of the saucer, which are basically designed to get blown up first, or on the back of the ship for drone defense. And then you have 9 positron beam turrets, and then it's got the laser cannons and artillery cannons back in place, and the long-range radar. That's something else I cut off on the other version over there. And I also slapped in a detector, which it didn't have prior. And then I was just kind of going over everything on like finalizing specs and everything, or checking out things. I checked out the Wi-Fi, and I actually added 4 more Wi-Fis into the ship. From what it had when I last showed it, was just something I wasn't thinking about a whole lot. I had a couple Wi-Fis in place, but not in all locations. So I actually got a Wi-Fi on the bottom part of both nacelles here, and this is actually a sealed off area where the thruster is up above Xeno over here and cut off on this side. So this was just like a filler block anyway, so I thought it was a perfect place to get some real far back Wi-Fi on the ship. And then it does have Wi-Fi in the central area over here, and then I added Wi-Fi in the kind of in these rooms way off to the sides, like in back over here on this side, and then a little bit different room on the other side in similar location. And then I also put a Wi-Fi up in the front nose area. I know I'm just flying through the ship here willy-nilly right now, but a little quicker that way. I know I've walked through a lot of these rooms before, so it's not necessarily new. It's just it's one of those things. And then I was reviewing oxygen too. I wanted to make sure that was set up. Now, oxygen's a little bit of a sticky thing. So I've got everything's got oxygen except I've got a little bit of a dilemma in the room over here, and then a little bit different room on the other side of the ship. And it has to do, again, with the same problem I have with the blast doors. Below here, you can see that this is the top of a blast door, and if you look at where you are in the ship, it is like directly above these newer launcher positions. Oh, and I don't seem to have that. Oh, that is colored right, I guess. Yeah, I put this stripe. Sorry. Getting sidetracked. I get so sidetracked so easily. I see something like that. So basically, because of this, if you slam a solar panel over it, the room can be airtight. But because that's there, it can't be airtight unless I put a block over it. So yeah, that makes it airtight. Um, but I wanted to leave these. I kind of, there's some people that kind of want these rooms all furnished off and everything like that, and others that say, leave off the furnishings. Um, I'm I'm leaning towards leaving out the furnishings because it's just gonna make the ship cost a little bit more. Granted, it'll add more detail to some of these rooms stock, and if you weren't planning on ever putting solar panels in these rooms, but yeah, I don't know. It's going to make it confusing. I thought of multiple ideas on how I could try to display stuff, and there were some suggestions and comments, maybe color that area a little different, or I could go with the old decal thing, or I even thought of a more advanced idea, which I kind of ruled out because I got no place to add like more LCDs, but I could actually make like an LCD that was like a big box, and it would draw. You could maybe even hit a switch somewhere, and it would turn on. Um, like an outline of where all the LCDs would go in each room, which I think would work too. But honestly, I'm really tight on space. If you look at like how most of these rooms are, I can't add an LCD up on the ceiling. I can't even add a light on the ceiling. I mean, these are half black rows. It's not like a full block where I can do stuff with, and like the walls are just filled up. And if I put in an LCD here, it actually interferes with placing a solar panel. So yeah, I don't know. It's been kind of a sticky thing. It's one of those things I've been trying to figure out exactly how I should go about this. Now, with all the rooms going around the hallways here, if you put a solar panel in every intended location, which is, well, basically it only, like this room only fits two, and because of certain blocks and certain things going on here, I couldn't fit a third one even if I wanted to there. But you can get a total of 20 large solar panels throughout all these rooms. So here's another one. Here's this room's a little new. And some of these rooms, I kind of plan on trying to dress up a little bit more before I release it. This is kind of on the to-do list. I kind of got the general design in place, but maybe a little tweaks, little texture tweaks. Maybe I screw with the ceiling a little bit more. A lot of these rooms, it's very difficult to do, though, because you got turrets that you don't really see here, but there's like turrets up in there. So it makes it kind of challenging. But yeah, you can get 20 large solar panels within all these rooms, and then there's 4 small solar panels that are actually back in the nacelles that are in their stock for the Reforged Eden release of the ship. Now, there's a lot of talk too. Well, people brought up is there going to be a vanilla version of this ship? And man, that's tricky. It's tricky. Like, I think that stripped down version over there might would work in vanilla if I changed the power plant, the main power plant. Of course, get rid of all the shield parts and anything else that might be Reforged Eden only on it. Yeah, I think it could work in vanilla. I don't think it would have a problem with CPU in vanilla, but I could be wrong on that. Vanilla charges CPU in different ways and things, and it charges you per block that you use, and larger creations have a harder time working in vanilla because of that. And I would have to modify where the fusion core is in here, but then it would have a lot of wasted space in the ship, like rooms designed to hold these shield parts that you wouldn't have any shield parts to hold in those rooms, so there's just empty holes and stuff like that. So, but with all that being said, yes, it could work in vanilla in like a stripped down form. So I'll think about it. I don't like releasing 2 versions of the same ship, but I can't make this one dual compatible either. So not without heavy modification on it, basically. Here's another room over here. This is kind of cheap. This was a hard room to work around. Again, you got launchers above it, kind of, and a lot of Xeno blocks. I didn't want to get rid of the Xeno. And because of the solar placement, I couldn't put in a lot of equipment. But this was supposed to be a lab, but I don't think it looks very labby, at least in this form. I tried to do a lot of things with it and add in things where I could, but it's really tight. And again, at the end of the day, it's really just designed to hold a solar panel, is really kind of what it's about. And all these rooms on the outer edges, obviously they have turrets coming through there. There's launcher positions nearby. They're not safe rooms. You know, they're not like a place where, you know, if you're getting a battle and you start taking heavy damage, you're not going to want to be in these outer rooms here. You're going to want to be in the secure bridge or someplace else, basically. So over here is like another, I don't know, some kind of storage room of some origin. Again, designed to hold a solar panel. And then the last room down the line here, it's got 3 solar panels in here, and it's kind of like another crew room. A little different than on the other side. The other side was actually fitting 4 solar panels in it. But so each one of these rooms is different. So there's no 2 rooms alike going around the saucer. Of course, I mean, the rooms I'm happiest with are like, believe it or not, like this. I thought this looked neat, but you know, again, it had a little bit more room in here. It actually had a 2-block ceiling in this room. A couple rooms up front did, the captain's quarters and this one, and the rest of them were all the 1-block height ceiling on there. As per Gearman's advice, I fixed my all my bridge signs. They all say personnel spelled correctly this time. Thank you very much. And speaking of, also a suggestion from Gearman that I implement. I'm sorry, I'm not going through the ship the right way here at all. But I had this little issue with the holodeck LCD on the last video. Now it is firmly planted right in the glass. Again, thanks to Gearman's advice. What had happened is I had the LCD for that holodeck right here, and it was facing just like this one was, and but it put it out like kind of noticeably a little bit in front of the window, and I thought it looked bad, so then I recessed it back where it was like a 1/4 block behind the window, or about that. And he said basically flip the LCD the other direction and then set it up. Which is, yeah, really good advice. It did work. I couldn't put the LCD here anymore, and I had to really look far and wide to find a location to put the LCD. So I actually, where did I put it? God, this ship is very tight. When you're going through space, floor space and things like that, I mean, oh wait, oh yeah, here's where I put it. So yeah, the LCD is actually a floor above now, but if you fly through the floor, you can see that gets it on the other side of the wall and where I could put that LCD in place correctly. So what is left to do is, well, come up with a name. So yeah, a lot of name suggestions. On this video description, I'm going to list them all. I'm going to just put it up for a vote. Obviously, I don't know. I gotta review all the names. I mean, my past favorite name was Proxima of what was suggested. Maybe that's still true. I don't know. I gotta like really look at all the names and figure out what's going on and whatnot. But I figured I'd just let everyone else decide. Now, I'm not going to name the ship probably till this Sunday when I actually make the LCD that's going to need it. And that'll give it a couple days. Give me a couple. Give me tomorrow and stuff to go through and get the final things done on this ship. Little things, little doodads, little maybe tweak outs or tweaks in certain rooms. I still didn't mess around with that little hangar or cockpit thing. I was gonna modify that room a little bit. So I got some little things to do and some dreaded things to do. The dreaded things to do actually has a lot more to do with the LCD work. Like if I here, let me get up to the bridge. I got to finish all this up. I left it. It's still where it was last video. Although I now know, thanks to Starseeker, Starseeker is one of those masters of LCDs. In fact, I'm going to link a video that he did that shows some LCD work that he does. And some tricks that would have helped me make this a lot better too, and that's using like the align center command. And for a while, you probably can't tell now because I did a lot of tweaks, but for a while there, you know, like this line over here coming down on this side, I had, and it's all done with individual position commands essentially. And then coming down on the other side, it wasn't like quite right. It wasn't like exactly centered to the other side. And then I had same issues like down by these nacelle areas and things like that. And if I would have used the center command and just went like one way to the center or the other way to center, it would have made this whole thing a lot easier to make. Is my point. Definitely helpful stuff and a lot of good information there. So I'll get that video and it'll be in the video description on this video a link to his video that he made a little while back, kind of showing some bunch of stuff, but some good LCD work. And I think if you all know Salusticore's creations, he's very good with the LCDs. He knows what he's doing. I'm a novice. I'm amateur novice. I'm learning. Yeah, enough. I made quite a few LCDs, but I haven't really got into like every little nook and cranny or a lot of the things that I see other people do with LCDs, which is there's a lot you can do with it. But I mean, it is a difficult thing to do. I think probably one of the more difficult things in the game to do, and you got to kind of get the coding. You got to figure out how it's all working, and on top of that, you are dealing with a very janky, in my opinion, a very janky LCD editor. Now, a couple things on LCDs, which I'd love to bring up. Let me grab one of these LCDs here, hidden below the floor here. How about this one? This was, uh-oh. What happened now? There it goes. Okay. Just observations on doing LCD work and some other works, and this would be more for, I don't know if the devs will ever see this or not, but just see what you think. Okay, on all these LCDs, you have these very rigid numbers. When you move things from one place to another, it's like super rigid. You can move something like a quarter block at a time. Personally, I don't see. I think it would be a lot better if it did like a eighth or a quarter of a block at a time, but also you could type in any number you wanted in all these values, every single one of these values, except maybe your width and height. But your X offset, like commonly, if you put an LCD on one wall and you rotate it 90 degrees and you want the LCD facing on a wall over here, say the LCD's, my projector's here and I want the LCD here. In some cases, in quite a few cases actually, that LCD will actually blend like at the same position of where the wall is. So you see like the LCD like get all screwed up and it's like half in the wall and half out of the wall. And if you look at it at different angles, it screws up in different ways. But I mean, if you had a control on this stuff, if I had that problem, I rotated this, I put it on a wall over there, and then I just moved like the X, whatever offset I needed to move by like 1 unit, like 1, it would fix it. It wouldn't be a problem anymore. And also think about on the rotation. When you're doing these rotations, if you could put in any, 360 degrees, any number you wanted in there, you could wrap LCDs around like round objects. You could put LCDs on 22.5 degree walls or wall blocks. It would give you just a lot more control on this, and I think it would just seriously improve it. And it just has to do with how rigid these numbers are. And one last thing that I've got a problem, and this would also cover sensors. So when you put in your motion sensors and things like that, and when you put in LCDs, obviously it gives you flexibility on where you can like locate them. But for some reason, those two items only work with 5 directions instead of 6. I've never figured that out. It makes it a nightmare sometimes to place even a motion sensor or an LCD, because you can do like your up, you can do like left, right, top, bottom, and forward, but you can't go backwards. And that I really wish it would allow you to do backwards. One last thing I wanted to bring up too, and this has to do with coloring lights. This has been a kind of a sticky thing that I was really hoping was going to get modified a long time ago. But when you, anytime you're setting a light, again, same issue as a lot of the other controls, very rigid controls, rather than intensity of 4 different positions. Why not just like allow you to go from 1 to 5 and put in any number you want in there or something like that? Same thing with the range. Granted, you only want to allow it a 20 meter max range. That's fine, but just rather than it's either just let's put in any number, 1 to 20 instead of just 4. But even though that's not as important as this part here is the color. You have to pick a color for any lights you put in your ship. And I mean, I hate using this palette. It just, like, a lot of the colors I would like to use and experiment with aren't these colors, and I can't do anything about it. So in this area, I keep on thinking, what if, rather than it just showing you this different color palette from the color palette your ship is using, why doesn't it just show you your ship's color palette and then you pick from that? You know, like this this ship's color palette here has like all these colors. So then I could pick any one of these colors I wanted, any of my custom colors, for the light color, which I think would be wonderful. I think it would allow us to do a lot more with lighting. Having these very rigid colors, like sometimes I want to like do like a blend between like something going from one shade kind of to another, and maybe some in-between variants, and maybe adjust the brightness more and things like that. And there's just a lot of limited options, and I guess and it seems like it's not for any reason besides just trying to keep the menus a little simpler. But I think a little bit of expanded functionality there would go a long ways in what you could do with building these things, and make life a little easier too. Especially if there's 6 degrees of direction when you're putting in projectors or motion sensors. That would certainly help a lot. And all the other things, you could fix the LCD problems that blend into the walls. You could align things better. You could color. You could light up your ships better or your creations better. You could mix and match. You could pick colors that just aren't in the palette. Have something look a lot more unique. There's just a lot of options that I really hope all those little things like that get gone through at some point in time, and maybe expand the functionality of it a little bit more. Of course, also when dealing with LCDs, the LCD editor, due to its character length, is problematic. You can't put too much stuff on one line. If you do, the position, and when you try to even edit it, it doesn't align with where your cursor is anymore, and it becomes a real nightmare. That obviously I think needs to be fixed too, where you can at least get like 256 characters on a line or something like that. You know, what I guess whatever works. But right now I don't know what it's set to, but it's pretty low. So if you type in too much on one line, it's a total mess. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Why do I have that there? Huh? I got a screwed up texture there. Yeah, that's part of the final detail process here I got to do. But anyway, I wanted to show you that. Okay, so stock configuration. In comments, there's been some people say, well, have it just come with miniguns, keep it cheap. We're going to want to put in better weapons anyway, and I get that. And then other people are like, well, why not just have it come with a little bit better loadout of weapons stock? And that's kind of what this attempt was here, where I tried to get like a mix in. You got some rocket launchers, a couple flak, like 3 flak guns, some positrons, which seem to be all the rave. And then I got all the launchers in here right now too. So last question. What do you think? I mean, should it be this high initial CPU cost like it would be if it was in this configuration, or should I go back to the idea I was doing and just have these bays filled in with minigun turrets and remove the launchers from the ship, and maybe even the shield parts? Now, a lot of this gets sticky, though. I mean, it really does get kind of sticky with the shield parts. The rooms don't look right if the shield parts aren't in place, because I built all the stuff around the shield parts to make them look nice. But it doesn't really matter in the end, I guess. But I don't know. I at a stripped-down version like this, if you spawn this in game and you had to go through and build like every single part and place it in the ship, to get it up to this spec. It would, at least me, I'm not super wonderful in survival at speed of doing these things, but I bet you I would be at it for 2 to 3 hours just trying to get it, like everything built and put in place on the ship before I could even fly it, basically. Well, I guess you could put in more generators or something, but and yeah, other things like removing thrusters from these housings. The way I've got these over there, you're gonna have to pull one of these out to even get to the thruster. You can't like, I can't put a louvered door here. I guess I could put a louvered door here, but these are actually defense, and actually have quite a lot of hit points, and a louvered door doesn't. So yeah, I don't know. I'm at nearly the end of the build right now, and I'm really just trying to figure out the best way or how I should release the ship with this configuration. And that's why I was going through all this stuff, trying to figure out, like, what if I did this, and what if I did this, and what should it come stock with, and this and that. And a lot of these things operate off like either a P menu control or something too, or at least like the launchers do. So I mean, if the launchers were left off, it means whoever put in the launcher, if you want the P menu controls to work, you'd have to assign your launcher back to like these controls here. And I still haven't addressed this. Also on the CPU core rooms information on the LCDs, I'm going to probably change that. There was a comment suggesting what would sound a lot more Star Trek appropriate for the CPU room names. I'll probably go with that, since I'm trying to definitely follow that theme with naming things. And then I also have to tweak out my elevator LCDs with their information. It's very it doesn't say much right now on these various LCDs. Like this just says saucer section, secure bridge, which is I mean, that part's right, but it's also got galley. I'll probably refer to this as a galley, because it's I think that sounds pretty good with Star Trek. And someone suggested that too, like Star Trek Voyager, they called it a galley, and a different model ship was called something different. But like, yeah, there's engineering up here. There's all the crew rooms. There's the galley. There's a holodeck. There's a production area. There's a sick bay. There's a bunch of stuff on this particular floor. I don't know if I want to try to list it all out on this, but I could. I got enough room there. I could add in a lot more entries, but it might just start to get a little confusing and stuff too. So I don't know. I don't know, man. Been at this thing for a long time now, a lot of time into it, and I'm just trying to make it like, perfect. And some of these things, like how it comes stock configured, is like you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't. Like there isn't like necessarily a right answer. It's if I strip it down too far and make it easier to spawn in, it's a nightmare to deal with, and it can't really work this way. And if I have it like super equipped, it's going to be super hard to get in game and have enough CPU to operate the ship. And again, you're going to want to probably put on some better turrets and things that I got on here. Especially if you're that late in the game and you got a bunch of quantum cores chilling out and auxiliary cores and whatever, you're probably going to have better turrets too. So that's the thing. So yeah, as in this too. When you think about it too, if I were to fill in all these, and it was suggested to fill in remove all the turrets and fill in this with carbon substrate blocks, I didn't want to do that because I'm deeming this as a hardened steel hull, and that basically, at least in my interpretation of that, means that you should have no exposed blocks to the outside that are not at least hardened steel. That doesn't mean and obviously this has some Xeno backing in certain places, like across the front of the saucer and across this like this neck area, and then of course around some of the thrusters and some of these launcher positions have additional Xeno. But if I just leave them out like that, that's a mess, and it's going to look bad. If I fill them in with carbon substrate, it's going to be super weak. In those locations, which I don't really like either. If I fill them in with hardened steel like the rest of the hull, well, if you think about that, 30 turrets at 9 blocks per turret, it was 270 additional blocks of hardened steel I have to add to the ship, which is, well, of course, that much weight as well. So yeah, it's all tricky. One last thing too. I know I made mention many times that I wanted to make an LCD that went over this area. I'm not so sure that would look good anymore. I might try to tweak out my lighting here, but I'm almost kind of preferring the blue glowy. I think the LCD would look a little too in your face. And I fear that I couldn't, like, I don't think my ability is good enough to make what I would have envisioned, or it would take forever to make it, because it would have to deal with essentially making some pretty long, skinny lines that would kind of have to go all the way around here pretty tight, which each line is probably about 10 commands in the LCD itself to make every single line. And I don't know. I'm almost kind of wondering if it'd be a fool's errand to attempt that. Of course, you know, master LCD makers out there, if you ever want to make a 5x5 roundest looking front of a Star Trek LCD, let me know, and I will stick it on this ship. But I don't know if I want to attempt it myself. I have a feeling it would just be a big time sink, and I bet you I won't like it in the end. And then I'll just end up removing it. So that is my big fear. Been working on this for a long time, a lot of time into it, and I hate working on the LCDs, but love them and hate them. Love-hate relationship on those. But yeah, anyway, that's it's coming. So Sunday I plan on naming the ship, and then make the roundest LCD for that goes across here, and I don't know exactly when I'm going to release it, but it's not that far away anymore. So probably not Sunday. I'll probably want that day to just tweak out things, take some pictures. Maybe I'll get it out. I think my plan is early next week. So Monday or Tuesday, probably. Unless I run into some other problem or something that happens. That is my plan. And then it can be done. And as in this number here, so some of the name comments suggested a number as well. This number means nothing. I just made it up. So I'll look at those numbers too. One thought, I thought it might be kind of cheesy, but I could tactically call it NCC 2022 for being this year. But I don't know. That could be kind of on the cheesy side, and I'm not sure how everybody's doing out there, if they want to remember this year or not. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. I just final preparations on the ship, getting things tweaked, dialed in. Got good Wi-Fi now. Got everything going. Oh yeah, something else I forgot to put in the older version was a pentaxid tank. I did get that. I did discover that, and had a great location to put it. Anyway, so that was not a big thing. Man, I keep on getting lost in this ship. It's easier to walk through it than fly through the walls, I think. Yeah, here's the room I was looking for. Yeah, so the pentaxid tank is right here, right in front of the shield generator hanging from the ceiling. So, yeah, if you ever want to find that manually, that's where it's at. Gosh, there's two last things I wanted to just address real quick. One, there's a question whether or not I could put in like a sensor so it turns off, like if you leave this on, when you leave the room, could you have it like turn off the lights? You see, in this case, I don't believe I can, because it's got to have these LCDs on when you enter the room, and if I have a sensor adjust those, which also adjusts the lights, I'll put it this way, I don't really know how I can make that work. Necessarily. Maybe through some fancy circuits. Maybe I have a separate room sensor over here and set up a circuit that does like an or and function, maybe, but I don't think I'm going to mess with it. I think this is pretty straightforward here. But if you leave it on, the worst effect you're going to get out of that is you get a little bit of some of the light bleed through from that room up in the bridge area here, which isn't necessarily a bad looking thing. It's just, that's really all that's wrong with it. So, and yeah, I want to keep that illusion, so I can't have a sensor. If you walk into this room, do anything, it would have to, like, once you leave this room, it'd have to just leave part of it and not parts of the other part of it. I don't know. One last comment, and this one, I guess I just don't understand. There's been a couple of comments like this, and it's basically saying that, yeah, the ship does not have near enough shield and shouldn't be used in combat at all. It'd be best used as a mobile base. And I'm just like, I'm getting a little dumbfounded by this because I literally ran the max shield parts I could put in here. Plus, it's got a fusion reactor, which also gives a perk to charging up the shield. And why doesn't this have enough shield? I mean, what am I missing here? I mean, I can't even add any more shield parts, can I? So why would this not be a combat ship and not have enough shield? I don't get it. So if anybody has any inclination on that, because maybe you're right, but I don't understand. You know, what did I put in all the shield parts for if that's not near enough? But that's the limit. So tell me, how do you get these gigantic, enormous shields besides having these endgame parts that you have to get through the game? I just don't get it. So again, I was confused by that. I've seen a couple other comments like that too, and again, I don't know what you're talking about, and I don't know what I could possibly do about it. So yeah, the only thing I can think of is maybe in conjunction to using all the shield parts I did use, to also use put in those the biggest ones in addition to these, but I can't fit those. They're 5x5x5 parts, and I need at least 2 or more of those in a ship that doesn't have near enough room for that kind of thing. So I don't understand. I tried to make the shield the best I possibly could and to charge as fast as I can. And when he's basically saying don't use it as a combat ship at all because it has not near enough shield, then, you know, I'm just dumbfounded. You know, what else can you possibly do? You know. So anyway, that is it for me today, and I'll be working on this tomorrow and try to tweak out some more things, try to get some screenshots done. And Sunday will look through whoever votes on names, try to pick whatever name gets the most votes, and try to run with that. Of course, I'm a little more partial to names that aren't super long because it's gonna be harder to fit more letters here. That's why I kind of wanted to keep whatever name it was between 7 and 9 letters. And keep in mind, I got to add a USS to that too, a USS dash, then that name. So even at that, at 7 to 9 letters, you're still looking at like 10 to like 15 letters across there. That's gonna all have to be like individually rotated and looked at across the top here, and possibly even on the bottom side over here too. So yeah, I did assign a lot of things to the running lights now. So running lights will turn off the blinkies, will turn off the light up here. Also turns off the landing pad lights. So that's nice and convenient. So just little things I've been trying to tweak out here. Last minute stages. Hey, it's been a long time in the making. Probably more modifications, tweaks, redesigns, things stretched out, built bigger, changed, altered than probably any other of the previous creations I've made to date. I probably had about 30, 40 things of copying over or moving things around or stretching things out or doing cuts and pastes to expand like the saucer size or things like that. So yeah, I don't know. I'm happy though. I'm happy. I think the ship's gonna work. It flies good. It flies the way I want it to. It's got the weapons. You know, the shield's yet to be determined on how much total shield power it is, and you know how you possibly get to some of the numbers that are suggested. I don't even have any idea. But I gotta assume that there's something that I just don't know yet. So I'm not saying anybody's wrong. I'm just saying I don't know what you're really talking about. So, all right. Anyway, y'all have yourself a great weekend. I will talk to you later.